Right, let's get one thing straight. The world's biggest military powers have spent decades building fighter jets that are bigger, faster, and more ludicrously expensive than a rock star's hotel bill. They've been playing a game of top trumps, where the only card that matters is more. More engine, more bombs, more money. And then along comes this little Swedish thing, the Saab Gripen E, like a wasp at a picnic. It's small, it's annoying, and it has completely and utterly ruined their day. Generals with their gold-plated plans and their billion-dollar toys are scratching their heads, realizing they might have to start all over again. This isn't just another jet. Honestly, it isn't. A philosophical argument with wings. A tiny, buzzing question mark that asks, did you really need to spend all that cash? Built not on brute force, but on cleverness. While the superpowers built a sledgehammer, the Swedes quietly forged a scalpel. It wasn't about the biggest engine, but the biggest brain. And that idea is forcing giants back to the drawing board. The Gripen E is small. You could almost park it in a reasonably sized garage. It doesn't roar so much as it zings. A giant killer, David with a high-tech slingshot. When it demonstrated what it could do, you could almost hear a collective gasp from Washington and from Moscow. Plans were shelved, budgets re-examined. The old rule, bigger equals better, was under threat. So, what is this Gripen E exactly? Well, imagine your smartphone, not the biggest or made of solid gold, but brilliant because of the software inside it. The Gripen E is the fighter jet equivalent. Single engine, multi-role, crafted by Saab, the sensible, slightly quirky car company. The newest, angriest Gripen. Not from scratch, but so thoroughly reworked it might as well be. More powerful American engine, brand new AESA radar, more computers than a NASA mission control room. Key features: ESA radar, additional weapon pylons, uprated engine, a jack of all trades, and a master. It hunts aircraft, strikes ground targets, and spies with state-of-the-art sensors. With a wider undercarriage, more fuel, and more weapons, its loadout is potent, but the real magic is how it uses it. Born for the digital age, designed to share information seamlessly, turning a group of jets into one intelligent hunting pack. It can operate from short stretches of ordinary road, seriously. Built to fight when airbases are smoking craters, needing minimal crew, refueled and rearmed in minutes. Rugged, practical, utterly unpretentious, with an advanced EW suite that blinds radars and jams comms while its AESA paints a perfect picture. The real brilliance of the Gripen E isn't in its metal, but in its mind. Designed with a scandalously simple idea. Make it smart, not complicated. At its heart is a powerful computer that acts as the pilot's second brain. It fuses data from radar, infrared sensors, and a data link to every friendly asset, jets, ships, and soldiers on the ground. The pilot isn't bombarded with raw data. They get a clean picture of what matters, like using a simple app instead of staring at code. Its AESA radar tracks a huge number of targets in the air and on the ground at the same time, and can turn its beam into a weapon for electronic attack. All that power without overwhelm. As one expert put it, the Gripen's cockpit reduces workload so the pilot can be a tactician, not a systems administrator. Maintenance is the boring bit that wins wars. A fighter is just an expensive statue if it waits for a part from across the world. Gripen E was built to be absurdly easy to fix. Engine swap in about an hour. Plug-and-play modules. Our goal was maximum uptime. A Gripen belongs in the air, not in a workshop. This approach is disruptive. Capability without crippling complexity. Open architecture means upgrades via software, like your phone. As new threats and technologies emerge, Gripen adapts without a hideously expensive redesign. A true 21st century mindset. Now let's talk about what's under the bonnet. A single General Electric F414. Same family that powers the Super Hornet, but on Gripen there's only one. Critics say underpowered, like calling a Lotus Elise slow because it lacks a V12. They're missing the point. Gripen is light, aerodynamic, and that one engine gives it serious poke. The power to weight is magnificent. It can go supersonic without afterburner, supercruise, once the domain of the apex predator, the F-22. Supercruise means faster transit, more fuel on arrival, and control of the engagement. A massive tactical advantage. It climbs like a homesick angel and turns on a sixpence, formidable in a dogfight. One proven engine cuts purchase cost, fuel burn, and maintenance burden. The F414 is famously reliable, less chance of failure when you can least afford it. Performance and efficiency, 80 to 90% of twin-engine performance at a fraction of the cost. Crucially, the engine also feeds the jet's enormous brain, running radar, EW suite, computers, and cockpit displays, see and jam simultaneously. Here's the bit that makes bean counters sit up, the price. The Gripen E is, for what it is, a bargain. Its flyaway cost is significantly lower than big-name rivals like the F-35, Typhoon, and Rafale, tens of millions less per plane. For the price of two heavyweights, you could potentially buy 3 Gripens, with change for training and a very nice dinner. The real revolution is cost per flight hour, fuel, spares, salaries. On this front, Gripen is the undisputed champion, estimated at under a third of an F-35's hourly cost. As one pilot said, you can afford to train properly in a Gripen, you get more hours and become a better pilot. Affordability scales strategy. A larger, more robust Air Force. More flexibility, more board coverage, more resilience under losses. This economic reality forces superpowers to question procurement built on ever-increasing costs. Why buy a gold-plated sledgehammer when a steel one does the job? Gripen E proves smart. Cost-effective design can be just as lethal. A very uncomfortable truth for a military-industrial complex optimized for price inflation. Line up several Gripen E jets on a tarmac and you can see it. A modern air force you can actually afford to fly. Modern air combat isn't one-on-one duels. It's a team sport. It's about data, networks, and shared information. Gripen E is a network node from its core, a pack hunter, communicating and cooperating with everything around it. Advanced data links let a squadron share sensor data in real time, creating a single picture every pilot can see. One jet can spot a target, another miles away fires the missile. That's a force multiplier. One searches with radar while others fly silent, yet still see what the first sees. They can sneak up on targets with no warning. A Brazilian Air Force official said, "The Gripen's networking is its greatest weapon. It lets our pilots work together in ways we only dreamed of. And it extends beyond Gripens to ships, command centers, and even individual soldiers queuing targets directly to the cockpit for instant strikes. This integration makes the entire force more lethal and efficient. You aren't fighting 4 jets, you're fighting a single multi-bodied intelligent organism. That's scary. It shifts metrics, not just speed, altitude, stealth, but network resilience, data fusion, and operational cost. Let's put the little Swede up against the Goliaths, the USA, Europe, Russia. On paper, stealthier, heavier payload, longer leg jets look unbeatable. They're door kickers built to soak up air defenses and establish dominance, pinnacles of tech when budgets are unlimited. Gripen E is a middleweight and fights like one, speed, agility, and cleverness over brute force. Big fighters need huge defended air bases. Gripen can operate from a motorway. Heavyweights demand elite teams and global logistics. Gripen turns around with a few conscripts and a toolbox. In many real scenarios, flexibility beats a few extra points of stealth or a slightly larger bomb bay. The best fighter is useless if it's on the ground. Gripen uses brain over brawn, EW to disrupt, networks to coordinate multi-axis attacks, and data processing to shoot first. Will it win a head-on joust with an F-22? That's not the fight it chooses. The headache is this: how do you counter an enemy that's cheaper, more numerous, and plays by different rules? Gripen doesn't make heavyweights obsolete, but it injects a dangerous new variable. For decades, advanced fighters were an exclusive club. If you weren't a superpower, you couldn't afford to play. Gripen E changes that, offering a huge chunk of 5th-gen capability at a fourth-gen price. The great equalizer. Suddenly, nations across South America, Eastern Europe, and Southeast Asia can contemplate brand-new, world-class jets without bankruptcy. Brazil choosing Gripen over American and French rivals was a landmark, top-tier tech with local industry uplift through technology transfer. A fleet of networked Gripens is no easy target. It raises the cost of intervention and forces aggressors to think twice. From Europe to the Americas, the message is clear. The era of selling only expensive, high-maintenance jets is no longer the only game in town. Gripen E isn't just a jet, it's a model of air power, affordable, sustainable, sovereign. The Gripen E is more than clever engineering, it's a wake-up call and a slap to old thinking. For years, supremacy meant overwhelming size, complexity, and cost. Gripen tore that script to shreds. It proves that smart design, cost-effectiveness, and networked intelligence can rival brute force. It forced superpowers to stop, think, and go back to the drawing board. The calculus of air combat has changed. Not just whose jet is better, but whose network is smarter, whose fleet is more sustainable, and who can put more capable planes in the air, more often, for less money. It shows the wisdom of balanced fleets, high-end paired with smart, affordable Gripens. Data and efficiency are the new kings of the sky. This little Swedish jet empowers smaller nations, forces a conversation about spiraling costs, and champions elegant simplicity over baroque complexity. The Gripen E is a spoiler and a disruptor. Superpowers now must account for smart, affordable, numerous jets. The drawing board is out, the pencils are sharpened, because the game has changed for good.